Okay. We're talking about affecting the rescue through aggressive tactics. And you'll see a couple videos. I'm going to throw some rocks at myself. I'll throw some rocks at you, some other departments. It's all just so we can all do a little bit better. So I hate the keyboard chairborne ranger commander on Facebook critiquing everybody's fire. But in this presentation today, I'm going to show you some of my mistakes that I've made over my career that affected things negatively. But I'll point out some other mistakes too. It's not to throw rocks. It's just we can all learn. We can all do better. Any veterans in the room? Okay, please stand up and be recognized. This is my neighbor, Miles Sedona. He's in the command DVD. He's a Green Beret. He got blown up in Iraq. And I shovel his driveway, he drinks my beer, and I still think I'm getting the better end of the deal. So I really thank you for your service and what you do for our country. All right, so I came out to FDIC coming from aggressive companies, and here I was presented with all this noise, this science. Now, I've been a believer in science all along, but I figured there's got to be a way to separate this noise and kind of reconcile what we do. So we started working with Yale in 2006, evaluating the fire environment, and yeah, we have some new science, but a lot of it isn't new. A lot of it, they just changed the names. And there are some things that we need to reconcile and do a little different. So I'm going to kind of give you a little different perspective from probably a lot of the other classes that you're going to be hearing at FDIC today. The modern fire environment isn't that modern. It's been here since the 1940s with the advent of plastic. So we've been fighting these fires long before any NIST or UL studies. We've been out there in the homes. So a lot of times what's old, it just becomes new again. So we just can't get so caught up. It's kind of like the law or anything in our country. I call it the pendulum of injustice. It's one way this way, and then instead of putting the pendulum in the middle, we often take it all the way to the other extreme. A lot of times the answer is in the middle, and not one tool is the answer for everything. All right, so we had some pieces of the puzzle: hitting the fire head on, door control, VES, blitz attack, flow path. VES, somebody added an I in it so they could write an article. I learned VES in '92 in Montgomery County, Maryland as a student living, and VES was always about isolating the door. So that never changed, and why were they isolating the door? To control the flow path, right? So they added an I to it. VES is still VES. Did anybody here learn VES throughout your career where they told you not to shut the door? Okay? Now, I say that as one of the advisory boards on the magazine. Somebody wrote an article and they threw an I in it. It's the same exact tactic. It hasn't changed. There are a couple tricks that we're going to teach you about VES today that are pretty good that I actually learned from a New York City guy from 27 Shaw. Okay? We manage risk, but you can't avoid it. If you want to save jobs, join the public works. Our job is dangerous, and yes, we need to do a better job to make it as safe as possible, but it's never going to be completely safe. If you listen to some of these individuals teaching, some of them are my best friends, some of the monsters I created. You would think that firefighters are getting killed in flashovers every day. It's not true. Okay? Between 15 and 22 firefighters die in a rapid fire event a year. Deer kill 100 people in America every single year. Deer, the deer that are in your yard from somebody hitting with a car, kills more than 100 people in America every single year. So when we deal with risk, we got to put the risk into perspective. Oh, I don't know why that got cut off. Now, slicers came out. You're going to hear a lot of classes here at FDIC. Eddie Buchanan, who came up with slicers, is a friend of mine. We actually proposed a workshop where we could kind of give counter views, but I hate slicers. The last thing the fire service needs is another acronym. Now, yes, we need to evaluate different conditions based off flow path, and we're going to kind of get into that. But there's different ways to control the energy. Go. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We got to take this science, and it's great that you can get opposing views here at FDIC, so you can, we're like Fox News, we're fair and balanced here at FDIC. You take it back, you take the information, and you decide. But no individual can come up to me and say that an unconscious victim has been saved in America or Canada or anywhere else in the world by a crew standing on the outside. Does anybody disagree with that statement? It's the truth. We're the American Fire Service, the Canadian Fire Service, and now at FDIC we're international. But the fact of the matter is, individuals are saved by our crews doing the job every day. Who's a paramedic in here? Oh my God, the fire service. Oh. All right, sir, you in the back here. All right, how long does a victim who's being exposed to acrolein, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen cyanide, carbon monoxide have to live in that environment? Okay, less than 4 minutes. So let's be generous and say 6 minutes because we don't know their environment. So 4 to 6 minutes, correct? So when you're standing outside spraying water in, and there are times where the circumstances dictate action, that spraying water on the outside for that couple seconds while the individuals are moving in may make sense. But if you're just standing outside spraying water or going around to the back of the structure to spray water, what's happening to your victim's survivability profile? You're leaving them in for the longest period of time. We see departments, we see a lot of NIOSH calls where they say you got to do a 360. Whose department here does a 360? Okay? My department, if I was the first new engine company and I did a 360, by the time I got in the back, I'd probably be mugged. Okay? I got to fake out a dog, break down a fence. Yes, somebody has to look at the rear of the building. It's not always going to be your first new engine company. Or in a block situation, it may be the roof crew that gets to look at that rear yard. Somebody needs to do it. As an engine company officer, if you show up by yourself or just with the truck, yeah, you need to get a look at what the rear is. You need to confirm whether it's a basement fire or not. That's critically important. Firefighters got killed throughout this country because we didn't take a 360. So hear out what I'm saying. If the battalion chief is arriving on scene with you, you're not holding hands like you're going to the prom, walking around the building. What's happening to the time for that victim to survive inside the building? You're not going to the prom. It'd be amazing if the fire department had radios, right? So the chief is covering that with you on the 360. You got to know where you're stretching. If you don't know where the fire is, then you got to do a little bit more recon or have your truck do a little bit more recon. But if you know where the fire is and the chief's on scene with you, you shouldn't be holding hands doing the 360. That's their job or their safety officer's job to communicate. Because if you have the necessary resources coming on scene, then if they find something through this recon, then they can redirect the other companies. Okay, the names have been changed in this video and sped up to protect the guilty. All right, so we got a full path coming out that front door. All right, we do. I sped it up so you couldn't see the fans. All right, so the company comes. This isn't a city with no staffing, because there's probably about 8 people there total. They're getting masked up. I do like that they're on their knees. They're leaving the door completely wide open, which makes no sense. They're not starting the fire at all. They didn't search behind the door. Now they're taking the line around the back of the building. This is like Benny Hill. What's the fire doing? What's the time for our victims here? Okay, he finishes 360. Yep, fire's in the back. Now we're going to set up a fan. We weren't even talking about that. They did throw a ladder. Put enough ladder from the building and the fire's eventually going to go out. Alright, so now they come back around the front. No one's going into this structure. No, this is on super speed. Okay, so for all the transitional attack people that I have in the room here, if you choose to do a tactic, and you're always going to defer to your department's SOPs and all that other fun stuff, you have to put in your mind how long it's going to take you from A to B. To start at the front of the house, play a little water, then go around to the back of the house, you should be arrested. If you look at what's killing us across the country, we don't need a government program anymore to tell us what's wrong with the fire service, why we get killed in fires. Anthony Castro's does a great job in proper risk assessment, so you can have some of that fire behavior there, lack of command, lack of accountability, but it all comes down to failed leadership. Would you agree with that? What's your badge represent? Quick answer. Okay. I get in a lot of trouble for this, but where's the volunteer association in the IAFF on merit-based promotions for volunteer and career departments? They just want to give you a badge because you buy a 2 cases of beer on softball night? Are you kidding me? Or you want to give somebody a badge because you're the mayor's best friend, or they're trying to socially engineer the fire department? The IAFF and the Volunteer Association, they're political cowards who won't take a stand on this issue, and I say that as the union president of the largest firefighter union in Connecticut. They love me. Over tactical commitment. If you're wearing a white hat, you should be using your brain and not your hands. Okay? This is a New Haven fire, so I'll throw rocks at ourselves. This is an assistant chief. Do you think he's aware of what's going on? This building's collapsing around him. That's the actual that crack right there is the same time this picture took place. Brace frame construction, inward-outward collapse about 5 minutes after this picture was taken. Okay, so I'll throw rocks at my own department. We can all do better. But one of the things I wrote about in Billy Goldfeder's book here, Pass It On To, which all the money goes to Courage and Valor and the Cancer Support Network, so I encourage you to check it out, a little plug there, is there's a fire officer, and I don't know who it is, somebody told me a story, but when he got his white hat, he painted the helmet white and left the bottom black. So every time he was in command or she was in command, they would look up and always see the black rim to realize who they were responsible with. We see a lot of officers who get promoted, and what they do is when they get promoted, they still want to do the fun part of their old job. If you get promoted to a position of responsibility, you have to carry out your responsibility. The men and women that are serving under you are counting on you. Utilize incident command. What you think is right may be wrong if it doesn't go through command. Here's Clifford, all right? See, the fire service, we can do things wrong 90% of the time, 99% of the time, and we get away with it. That's the problem. So here Clifford's got uncoordinated tactics, just like we see in 444 line of duty deaths, where 87% no recognized or coordinated ventilation is taking place. But then nobody got hurt, nobody got injured, nobody got killed. So we devalue the threat, it becomes the norm, it goes into our Rolodex of experience that, hey, this is how we operate, this is what we do. It's very important to realize that most line of duty deaths or significant injuries isn't some catastrophic event that happens instantaneously. What you're going to see is it's a casual chain of events, a drift into failure of all the little things, that attention to detail that we miss as fire officers, firefighters, and fire chiefs to address, and then just when everything's right, it culminates in a line of duty death. Again, that's a picture of my brother. He's a collapse rescue guy, construction his whole life, got complacent for a couple minutes. He ate the front of a cutoff saw when it kicked. So I got to tell you the fire department side of this. So they have to leave his face wide open because he has a possible skull fracture. So for them to do whatever scan they do, they say it's got to be open until we get the machine ready, and then we'll bring him in. So I came in and I said, Jimmy, are you all right? He said, yeah, Frank, I'm all right. You know, I'm a little scared. I said, good, I need a picture for the firefighter handbook for fire engineering. Then my brother John, who's another mechanic chief from Middletown, he comes in and he says, Jimmy, are you all right? Jimmy goes, yeah, I'm doing great. I just, you know, I'm a little scared. They said I could have a skull fracture. He goes, but you're all right? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, I'm the good-looking twin now. So my mother was mortified. All right, so this is what it all comes down to, the fire coordination triangle. There are some departments where if you show up with 2 people, then maybe spraying water from the outside is the only option you have. There's not one size fits all. But if we're going to safely, efficiently, and effectively control the structure, as Tommy Brennan used to say, you have to have fire, attack, search, ventilation, tactical reserve, RIT. Here's the Courage and Valor Award winner. RIT and tactical reserve, ready to go into the game. So for volunteer departments, it's not how many people you can get on scene by the end of the event. It's how many people you can get on scene right from the onset. Same thing with career departments. I heard in a class yesterday, Dave McGrell gave a great class on high-rises, where some departments outside of Austin were saying, oh, well, volunteer departments cover us, so we don't call them in, we call in the next department. Are you crazy? You know, resources, it's better to be looking at them and looking for them. If you want to control the building, you need resources on scene so that you can actually do your job. Whose department here gets the same response for a 1-story ranch, reported working fire, people trapped, as the same response they get to this structure here, or the low rise in your town? Raise your hand. Okay? The chiefs aren't doing their job. They're not. And if you're the chief, sorry, you're not doing your job. That gold badge means responsibility. You're setting your crews up for failure. We need enough resources on scene. The dispatch protocol has to match what we're going to, because it takes time to get the companies into operation. Who here has a RIT team of 2 people? Raise your hand. Be brave. Nobody. 3. All right, out of the 3 people, who's the chief? Who's the chief? Captain? Lieutenant? All right, Lou. Sir. What department you work for? Okay, so you got a rapid intervention team of 3 people, right? You suffer a line of duty death in your department. Chief comes to you and says, we want to give you the highest honor. We want you to work with the family of the individual that had the line of duty death. And I want you to work with his wife. His wife wants a fire department funeral. But he was on a shift, he was really close to his friends, and the wife tells you, I only want 3 pallbearers. It's 3 best friends. What do you say?
Not enough.
You tell the widow that it's not enough? Okay, so he has the courage to sit down and look at a widow of a lost brother or sister firefighter that 3 people ain't enough to carry a casket with firm footing, ideal conditions, but yet we expect 3 firefighters to even have a chance to rescue a trapped firefighter. Our chiefs are failing you. They don't have the courage to pick up a mic. I haven't met any firefighter out here that doesn't want to go to a fire. Everybody will come to your fire. So why aren't they being called so you have the resources on scene? People have the courage to tell the widow, we're sorry, we can't have 3 pallbearers. We need at least 6. But we don't have the courage when we get on scene to pick up the radio and call for the help you need. Now our staffing at a structure fire is actually pretty good, but to kind of put it in comparison, New Haven was bringing 1 company to the highway for a wreck. So when I became a boss, what I started doing is, as I was leaving the barn, the union was fighting to get an extra company for coverage. As I was leaving the barn, I'd get on the radio and say, I need an additional company for blocking. And they used to motherfuck me like you wouldn't believe. Who's Frank Ricci writing SOPs? They would go to other firehouses and talk to me. No chief would come to the firehouse and talk to me directly. So finally one day, battalion chief comes in and says, we don't like what you're doing, that's not our policy. I say, fine, then you go to the call and you make the call. But as long as I'm there, we operate an incident command, and my responsibility is to protect the members that I'm working for. It goes back to that newspaper thing. It's okay to bend the rules a little bit, as long as whatever you're doing, you can back up on the front page of the newspaper.